Are you tired of feeling stuck, watching life pass you by while your potential goes untapped? Imagine waking up every day with unstoppable energy, clarity, and purpose, becoming stronger, wiser, and more powerful than you were yesterday. Today, I'm going to show you how to break through your limits, crush your excuses, and step into the best version of yourself every single day. No gimmicks, no waiting for the perfect moment, just real strategies, real action, and a relentless commitment to growth. The question is simple. Are you ready to stop settling and start transforming your life now? You want to become a better version of yourself every day? Then it starts with one thing, raising your standards. Most people focus on goals. They think, I want to make more money, I want to get in shape, or I want to be more confident. Goals are fine, they're useful, but if all you do is chase goals, you're missing the real power, because goals are temporary. They give you bursts of motivation, but they don't create lasting change. What creates lasting change is the standard you hold yourself to in every single moment of your life. A standard is different. A standard is who you decide to be, not what you hope to get. It's what you demand from yourself, even when no one is watching. And here's the truth. Until you raise your standards, your goals are meaningless. You could make $1 million, but if your standard is to complain, to procrastinate, to cut corners, what have you really achieved? You've just changed numbers. Your life doesn't transform until you change who you are at your core. So, how do you raise your standards? It starts with awareness. Watch the way you live. Watch the small choices you make every day. Most people fail to see the invisible forces shaping their lives. You skip workouts, you eat mindlessly, you scroll endlessly through social media, you tolerate disrespect, and you settle for excuses. You tolerate less than ideal relationships and underperform at work because somewhere deep down you have lowered your standard of what is acceptable in your life. Now, I want you to imagine your life the way it could be if you refused to tolerate anything less than your best. If your standard became excellence in your health, your relationships, your career, and your emotional state. Imagine never accepting mediocrity. Imagine living by a standard that commands respect from yourself. That's the kind of life that doesn't just improve incrementally, it transforms. Raising your standards doesn't mean setting unrealistic expectations or striving for perfection. Perfection is a trap. Perfection is paralysis. Raising your standards means deciding in every situation what is truly acceptable and what is not, and then acting in alignment with that decision. It's saying, I will not let myself cheat my potential. I will not settle for comfort when growth is calling. I will not ignore my own greatness because it feels easier to be small. And here's the secret. Most people never tell you. The moment you raise your standards, the universe starts responding. Life can't resist a person who has decided to no longer tolerate anything less than their best. Doors open that were previously invisible. Opportunities come to people who are no longer negotiating with themselves about what they deserve. And it starts internally first. You start making better decisions naturally because your mind is aligned with a higher standard. You don't need motivation. Your standard pulls you forward automatically. Let's get practical. If your standard is health, that doesn't mean you occasionally eat a salad and call it a day. It means you decide that fueling your body, moving your body, and caring for it is non-negotiable. You no longer compromise on sleep, nutrition, or exercise because you've chosen to honor the vessel that carries you through life. If your standard is financial responsibility, it's not about wishing for wealth or setting a goal to earn more. It's about committing to mastery over your money, learning the rules, making smart decisions, and refusing to spend your future for temporary comfort. If your standard is emotional mastery, you stop reacting impulsively, blaming others, or letting circumstances control your mood. You choose to respond, to lead your life, and to manage yourself with dignity and power. Raising your standards also means taking a hard look at the people and environments you allow in your life. Your environment is a mirror of your standards. If you tolerate negativity, excuses, or laziness from the people around you, you are unconsciously telling yourself that it's acceptable. You must elevate your standards, not just for yourself, but for what you allow into your space. This is not about arrogance. It's about alignment. The people, places, and activities in your life must reflect the level of excellence you're demanding from yourself. I want you to understand something crucial. Raising your standards is a decision. It is not a feeling. Motivation comes and goes, but standards are unwavering. You wake up and decide who you are going to be today, and you commit. You decide that today you will honor yourself in every choice, every action, and every thought, and tomorrow you do it again, and the next day. And eventually, this becomes who you are. Excellence becomes your identity, not just a habit. Now, this doesn't happen overnight. You will stumble. You will cheat yourself. You will make excuses. That's normal. But the difference is, when your standards are high, those stumbles no longer define you. They are merely feedback. You course correct, you adjust, you recommit. The person with high standards doesn't quit because they fail. They raise the standard again and keep moving. Think about the most successful, fulfilled people you know. It's not luck. It's not timing. It's the relentless refusal to settle for less than they know they're capable of. They've raised their standards in health, in mindset, in relationships, and in purpose. And because they did, everything else followed. Results are not the starting point. They are the inevitable consequence. I want you to take a moment right now and ask yourself a question. What standard am I willing to no longer negotiate on? What is the one area in my life where I've been accepting less than I deserve? Health, career, emotional state, relationships. And here's the challenge. Don't just think about it. Decide. Make a commitment to raise that standard today. No excuses, no compromises. And here's the beauty: once you do, the shift isn't gradual, it's exponential. The small decisions compound. The choices you make daily start to align with this new standard. You begin to notice opportunities and solutions that were invisible before. You begin to attract people who elevate you. You begin to live a life that is no longer about chasing goals, but about embodying excellence in every moment. Remember this: you are not trying to be better for anyone else. You are not trying to impress, compete, or prove. You are raising your standard because you finally understand your worth, your potential, and your capacity to live a life without compromise. Every day you get to choose whether you are a main in comfort and mediocrity, or whether you decide that your standard is now excellence. And once that choice is made, everything changes. Raise your standard, decide who you are, and live it in every moment, every day without exception. If you want to become a better version of yourself every single day, you have to understand the power of mornings. Most people underestimate them. They think the day starts when they open their laptop, or when the emails start piling up, or when the boss says go. That's not when your day starts. That's when you're reacting. If you want transformation, if you want momentum, your day begins long before any external demands arrive. Your day begins the moment you decide who you are going to be and how you're going to feel. The morning is sacred. It is the one time when you have complete control over your focus, your questions, and your energy. Most people waste it. They hit snooze, check notifications, scroll through news feeds, and allow someone else's agenda to hijack their mind before they even get out of bed. And then they wonder why the rest of the day feels chaotic, frustrating, or unproductive. You have to flip that. You have to win your morning, or the rest of your day will slip away from you like water through your fingers. Winning your morning doesn't mean doing a long, complicated routine. It's not about perfection. It's about intention. It's about deciding right now how you want to start and then committing to it without negotiation. You can start by taking the first few moments of your day to center yourself, to breathe, to focus on what matters most. Ask yourself powerful questions. Who am I today? How do I want to feel? What choices will I make to honor my potential? The questions you ask in the morning set the tone for everything else. If your questions are weak, if they're filled with doubt or complaint, your end will automatically look for answers that reinforce weakness. If your questions are strong, if they are focused on power, gratitude, and action, your mind will move towards solutions, opportunities, and energy. And here's the key. It's not just mental, it's physical. How you move your body, what you feed it, how you treat it in the morning sends a signal to your brain about what kind of day you're going to have. When you start with movement, with water, with nutrition that fuels you, with posture that commands confidence, your body immediately aligns with energy and vitality. You are not just surviving. You are stepping into performance, presence, and power before the world even has a chance to challenge you. Most people wait for motivation to strike, but motivation is fleeting. It comes and goes like a wave. The difference between average and extraordinary people is not motivation, it's ritual. Ritual is repeated action that shapes identity, regardless of feelings. When you create a morning ritual that elevates your mind, your body, and your emotional state, you no longer rely on fleeting motivation. You become unstoppable. You create a daily experience that primes you for excellence, and that excellence compounds over time. Here's something most people don't realize. The energy you bring to the first hours of your day affects everyone around you. Your mood, your focus, your emotional state, these are contagious. You may think you're protecting yourself by letting your morning be lazy or reactive, but in reality, you are setting a ripple effect that touches everyone you interact with. Your family, your colleagues, your clients, even strangers feel the energy you carry. When you start your day with clarity, gratitude, and purpose, you not only serve yourself, you serve the world. And don't get caught up in thinking that mornings are just for early risers. It's not AB. Out the clock, it's about the commitment. You can win your morning at 5 a.m. or at 10 a.m. The principle is the same. You decide how your day begins, and you refuse to let distraction, laziness, or habit dictate the outcome. You claim the first moments as yours. You make them sacred. You decide the emotional tone, and that decision carries through every interaction, every choice, and every result that follows. Winning your morning also means being intentional about your mental inputs. Most people scroll endlessly, consume negativity, or allow reactive thoughts to dominate their brain before they've even had breakfast. If you want to become better every day, you must decide what information, what energy, and what stories you let into your mind first. Choose content that elevates you. Read something that inspires growth. Listen to ideas that expand possibility. Journal about what you are grateful for and what you are committed to achieving. Fill your mind with power and clarity before you allow the world to tell you what is possible or impossible. Consistency is the hidden superpower here. You might have one great morning and feel unstoppable, but one day doesn't create transformation. True growth comes from showing up every single day, making the choice again and again, refusing to compromise when you're tired, distracted, or tempted to settle for less. Over time, these repeated morning victories compound into an identity shift. You are no longer a person who hopes for a good day. You are a person who commands it. You no longer wait for energy to find you. You create it. You no longer react to life. You lead it. And here's the beauty of winning your morning. It makes every other key point in this journey easier. Raising your standards becomes natural because your day starts in alignment with excellence. Rewriting your story feels possible because your mind is clear and empowered. Taking personal responsibility feels inevitable because your focus is deliberate and intentional. Embracing discomfort becomes exciting because your energy is high and your mind is prepared. And the small wins you stack throughout the day feel effortless because your momentum was built before most people even got out of bed. So I want you to imagine this. Tomorrow morning, you wake up, and instead of rolling over and scrolling, you take control. You decide who you are, how you will feel, and what actions you will take. You breathe, you move, you hydrate, you prepare yourself physically and mentally. You ask powerful questions that frame your day for success. You feed your mind with positivity, focus, and strategy. And then, armed with this foundation, you step into the world not reacting but creating, not drifting but leading, not surviving but thriving. This is how small daily decisions create massive change. The morning is your launch pad. It sets the trajectory of your entire life. If you commit to owning it, to winning it, to shaping it intentionally, there is no limit to what you can achieve. You cannot control every circumstance, every challenge, every obstacle, but you can control the first hours of your day. And when you do, you control the momentum, the energy, and the results that follow. Start your morning with purpose, and the rest of the day will follow. One of the most powerful secrets to becoming a better version of yourself every day is understanding the story you tell yourself. You see, life isn't neutral. It isn't just happening to you. Life is experienced through the lens of meaning you attach to it. Two people can go through the exact same event, but one person will see it as a disaster and the other as an opportunity. That difference isn't luck. It's the story they've chosen to believe. And here's the thing. Most people don't even realize they're living inside a story. They think this is just reality, but reality is what you make it. Your story shapes your identity, and your identity shapes your results. Every day you have a choice. You can let your old story control you, or you can take the pen and rewrite it. Most people cling to their old stories, the stories of failure, of limitation, of I can't or I'm not good enough, because they feel familiar, they feel safe. But safety isn't growth, and familiarity isn't freedom. If you want to be better every day, you have to become a student of your own narrative. You have to notice the beliefs you carry and ask yourself, does this belief serve me or does it hold me back? Think about it. How many times have you told yourself a story that sounded true but wasn't serving you? I'm not talented enough. I'm too old. I failed too many times to succeed. Life is always against me. Every one of these thoughts is just a story you've rehearsed so many times it feels real. But here's the empowering truth. If it's a story, it can be rewritten. And the moment you rewrite it, your energy, your choices, and your outcomes begin to shift. You start by recognizing the language you use. Words are powerful. When you say, I can't, I'm stuck, or it's too hard, you are not describing reality. You are giving your brain permission to look for evidence that proves your story right. But when you start saying, I can learn, I will find a way, this is challenging, and I will grow from it, you are actively reprogramming your mind. You are training yourself to see opportunities instead of obstacles. You are teaching yourself that challenges are stepping stones, not stop signs. Your story is also shaped by the questions you ask yourself. The quality of your life is determined by the quality of the questions you ask. If you ask, why does this A It always happened to me. You will get answers that reinforce victimhood. But if you ask, what can I learn from this? Or how can I use this to become stronger? Your mind immediately begins scanning for solutions, resources, and opportunities. Questions are the gateway to new meanings, and new meanings are the foundation for transformation. It's important to understand that rewriting your story is not about pretending everything is perfect or ignoring reality. It's about choosing empowering interpretations of reality. You can't control everything that happens to you, but you can control what it means to you. You can't stop life from throwing challenges your way, but you can stop yourself from seeing them as evidence that you are weak or unworthy. You can choose to see them as training, as preparation, as the kind of pressure that molds strength, resilience, and greatness. Now, most people fail at this because they identify too closely with their old story. They think, this is who I am, when really it's just a collection of beliefs that no longer serve them. If you want to become better every day, you have to separate yourself from the story. You have to say, I am not my past. I am not my mistakes. I am not the labels that others have placed on me. I am the author of my life, and I get to choose what it says next. Once you make that separation, freedom follows. Once you make that separation, possibility explodes. Once you make that separation, you begin to operate from identity instead of reaction. This process also requires courage because your old story feels comfortable. People often resist changing the narrative because they fear the unknown, but consider this, which is more uncomfortable: living a life defined by limitation or stepping into a life defined by possibility, which is scarier, sticking to what you know and remaining small, or challenging yourself. To grow, expand, and evolve, growth always feels uncomfortable at first, but the discomfort of remaining the same is far heavier over a lifetime. One of the most practical ways to rewrite your story is to focus on evidence. Look for moments in your past where you succeeded, where you overcame, where you surprised yourself. Remind yourself constantly that you are capable, resourceful, and resilient. Build a bank of personal victories, big or small, and use them to counteract the limiting stories that creep in. Every time fear or doubt whispers, you have evidence to show that you can rise above it. You have proof that your potential is far greater than your old narrative would have you believe. Another critical element is repetition. You can't change your story once and expect transformation. You must feed the new story daily. Speak it, think it, feel it, live it. Your brain needs consistent signals that a new interpretation of reality is true. That's how neural pathways are rewired. That's how beliefs are upgraded. That's how identity shifts. Every time you consciously choose meaning, every time you consciously challenge a limiting belief, you are strengthening the new story and weakening the old one. And the impact of this cannot be overstated. Once you control your story, you control your life. You make decisions from a place of empowerment instead of fear. You act from possibility instead of limitation. You show up with confidence instead of doubt. You create results not because the world is perfect, but because you have learned how to interpret in ways that serve your growth. You begin to experience life in a way that is intentional, powerful, and aligned with the person you are becoming. I want you to take a moment and ask yourself, what story am I currently living? What narrative have I been rehearsing for years without even realizing it? Is it serving me or is it holding me back? And then I want you to ask, what story do I want to tell instead? What beliefs do I want to carry forward? How do I want to interpret the events of my life so that they empower me rather than diminish me? This is not just theory, it's practice. You rewrite your story by taking action that reinforces it. Every small step you take in alignment with your new story strengthens it. Every decision that reflects your higher beliefs cements your new identity. And over time, the new story becomes automatic. You no longer have to force yourself to think differently. It becomes who you are. You live it, breathe it, and radiate it naturally. Your story is your power. The moment you realize you are not a passive character, but the author of your life, everything changes. Your past no longer defines you. Your fears no longer limit you, and your potential is no longer a question. Every challenge becomes an opportunity. Every obstacle becomes a lesson, and every day becomes a chance to step into the greatness you were always capable of achieving. Choose your story, live it fully, and watch as it transforms everything you touch. If you want to become a better version of yourself every day, there is one principle that separates those who live extraordinary lives from those who drift along hoping for change: personal responsibility. And I don't mean just taking credit when things go right. I mean owning everything about your life, everything about your results, and everything about how you respond to the world without excuses, without blame, without delay. Most people think responsibility is about doing more work or following rules. It's not. Responsibility is about power. It's about taking control of your own life and refusing to allow circumstances, other people, or past mistakes to dictate your future. Let's be honest, blame is seductive. It's easy to point the finger at your boss, your parents, your circumstances, your upbringing, the economy, or your luck. And when you do, it feels justified. You have reasons, explanations, and stories. But here's the brutal truth. Blame keeps you trapped. Every time you say, it's not my fault, you give away your power. Every time you wait for someone else to fix your problems, to inspire you, or to rescue you, you delay your own growth. You cannot wait for permission to be great. You cannot wait for the conditions to be perfect. You must take ownership, and you must take it today. Personal responsibility is freedom disguised as discipline. It means looking in the mirror and saying, no matter what happened, this is my life, and I will decide how I respond. It's not about guilt or self-punishment. It's about empowerment. When you accept that your choices and your actions shape your results, suddenly you are no longer a victim. Suddenly the obstacles in your life become fuel instead of shackles. Suddenly you see that the very power to change everything lies in your hands. Taking personal responsibility also means embracing discomfort instead of avoiding it. Growth is not comfortable. Mastery is not convenient. Most people run from pain, from conflict, from accountability. But here's the secret. The very things you avoid are the things that will make you stronger, wiser, and more capable. When you own your reactions, when you own your mistakes, when you own your growth, you turn challenges into opportunities. You turn fear into fuel. You turn failure into a teacher. And that is how everyday improvement becomes unstoppable. It starts with small decisions. Responsibility isn't just about big moments. It's about the little ones you face daily. The decision to follow through when no one is watching. The decision to keep your word to yourself. The decision to act even when it's uncomfort. Gable, every time you make a choice that aligns with ownership instead of blame, you strengthen your identity as someone who is in control of their life. And the more you do this, the easier it becomes. Responsibility compounds, just like the small wins we've talked about before. Another critical aspect of personal responsibility is owning your emotions. Most people think emotions happen to them. They believe they are victims of anger, fear, sadness, or anxiety. But emotions are signals, not dictators. They are messages telling you what you are thinking, what you are believing, and where your energy is going. When you take ownership of your emotions, you no longer let them run your life. You recognize them, understand them, and choose how to act despite them. That is power. That is freedom. That is maturity. Responsibility also means accepting your past without letting it define you. Everyone has made mistakes, experienced setbacks, or been hurt by others. That is life. But the people who rise above are the ones who say, I acknowledge what happened, I learned from it, and I refuse to let it control my present or my future. No one becomes better by wallowing in regret. No one grows by pointing at who was wrong or what went wrong. Growth comes from ownership. Growth comes from accountability. Growth comes from saying, I am responsible for the results I create, and I'm committed to shaping them every single day. Let's talk about action, because responsibility without action is empty. You can acknowledge your power and your role in life all you want, but until you act, nothing changes. Every time you take decisive action, no matter how small, you prove to yourself that you are capable. Every time you confront a fear, face a challenge, or make a choice you've been avoiding, you reinforce your identity as someone who owns their life. Action is the bridge between taking responsibility in theory and living it in reality. And the more consistent you are with action, the stronger your sense of ownership becomes, and the faster you grow, you also must take responsibility for your learning and your growth. No one else can do it for you. The world will not hand you transformation on a silver platter. You must seek it, earn it, and commit to it daily. That means reading, learning, experimenting, failing, adjusting, and doing it all over again. Responsibility is about refusing to wait for inspiration or permission. It is about deciding that you will become the best version of yourself, no matter what, starting today. Now, here's where most people struggle. Taking responsibility feels risky. It feels like pressure. It feels heavy. But here's the thing. Freedom always comes with responsibility. The moment you stop blaming, stop complaining, stop looking for excuses, and start owning, you reclaim your power. You step out of victimhood and into possibility. You realize that the very life you have been waiting for is available to you. And the key to it lies in the choices you make, the actions you take, and the ownership you commit to every single day. And this is why responsibility is the foundation for all the other points we've discussed. When you raise your standards, personal responsibility ensures you actually live up to them. When you win your morning, personal responsibility makes it consistent. When you rewrite your story, personal responsibility keeps you honest and disciplined in your beliefs. When you embrace discomfort, responsibility is what keeps you moving forward instead of retreating. When you stack small wins, responsibility is the glue that holds them together and ensures they grow into transformation. So I want you to take a moment and reflect, what areas of your life are you not fully owning? Where are you blaming, avoiding, or waiting? And then I want you to make a decision. Starting now, I will take responsibility for my results. I will take responsibility for my choices. I will take responsibility for my reactions, my growth, my learning, my future. I will refuse to give away my power, and I will refuse to wait for anyone else to create the life I deserve. This decision is not about perfection. You will stumble, you will falter, you will make mistakes. That is part of ownership. It is part of growth. What matters is that you get up, recommit, adjust, and move forward. Every time you do, you reinforce the identity of someone who owns their life. Every time you do, you step closer to the best version of yourself. Every time you do, you create unstoppable momentum that no one can take away from you. Own your life, own your results, own your growth, and the power you gain from that ownership will redefine everything. If you want to become a better version of yourself every day, you have to understand one fundamental truth. Growth lives outside your comfort zone. Most people spend their lives chasing comfort. They want convenience, they want ease, they want life to feel predictable and safe. And while comfort feels good in the moment, it is the enemy of progress. Comfort will give you temporary pleasure, but it will never give you the fulfillment, mastery, or greatness you are capable of achieving. Every breakthrough, every transfo, every moment of true achievement comes from stepping into discomfort and embracing it as fuel for growth. Discomfort is not the enemy, it's the signal. It's your body and mind telling you, this is where the magic happens. This is where you expand. This is where you evolve. Every time you feel fear, uncertainty, or resistance, that is an invitation to grow. The challenge is learning to lean into it rather than turning away. Most people retreat. They avoid the feelings, the challenges, and the risks. They convince themselves that they're protecting themselves, but in reality, they're just keeping themselves small. The only way to become a better version of yourself is to step forward when everyone else steps back, to embrace the fire, and to choose growth over comfort every single day. You see, the human brain is wired to seek safety. It wants to avoid pain, it wants to avoid risk, and it wants to avoid change. That's natural. It's survival instinct. But your life is not meant to be about survival alone. Your life is meant to be about mastery, fulfillment, and impact. And those things are always found on the edge of discomfort. The edge of discomfort is where courage is built, where resilience is strengthened, and where new levels of possibility are unlocked. Every time you resist the urge to stay safe and push forward, you are training yourself to expand, to stretch, and to reach heights you never imagined were possible. Most people think growth requires huge, dramatic action, but it doesn't. Growth comes from consistent, deliberate steps outside your comfort zone. It's in the small moments where you choose to do what is hard, uncomfortable, or inconvenient. It's saying yes to challenges instead of no. It's making the call you've been avoiding, having the difficult conversation, taking the risk, learning the new skill, confronting the fear that has and holding you back. Each time you choose discomfort in service of growth, you are rewiring yourself for mastery. You are proving to yourself that you are bigger than your limitations. Let me be clear. Discomfort is not punishment. It is not suffering for suffering's sake. It is feedback, guidance, and opportunity all rolled into one. When you feel the tension in your body, the fear in your mind, or the doubt in your heart, that is your growth zone. That is where you are becoming stronger, smarter, and more capable. The question is not whether discomfort will exist. It always will. The question is whether you will let it control you or whether you will use it as fuel to create momentum, action, and transformation. One of the most powerful ways to embrace discomfort is to shift your perspective. Instead of seeing fear, resistance, or challenge as something to avoid, see it as a teacher. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can this make me stronger? How can I use this to create results I couldn't achieve otherwise? When you begin to interpret discomfort as a signal rather than a threat, everything changes. Fear becomes excitement. Resistance becomes opportunity. Challenge becomes growth. And suddenly, the things that once paralyzed you now propel you forward. Another way to embrace discomfort is through incremental action. You don't have to leap into the unknown blindly. You can start small, taking consistent steps outside your comfort zone, each one building confidence, courage, and capability That's how habits are formed. That's how identity is reshaped. Each time you push just beyond what feels comfortable, you expand the boundaries of what is possible for yourself. And over time, these small expansions compound into massive transformation. It's also important to recognize that embracing discomfort requires accountability. You cannot grow if you hide behind excuses, rationalizations, or avoidance. You have to be honest with yourself about where you are settling, where you are avoiding, and where you are letting comfort dictate your life. That honesty is uncomfortable in itself, but it is necessary. Once you confront the truth of where you are playing small, you can make the conscious choice to act differently. That's where change begins. And here's something most people don't realize. Discomfort is not permanent. The fear, resistance, and tension you feel in the moment are temporary. They pass, but the strength, confidence, and skill you build by pushing through them are permanent. Every time you embrace what feels uncomfortable, you are creating a new level of capability, resilience, and power that cannot be taken away from you. Discomfort is temporary, growth is lasting, and the more often you step into it, the easier it becomes until what once felt impossible now feels natural. This principle applies to every area of your life. In your health, it's choosing the workout you don't feel like doing, eating the foods that fuel your body instead of comfort foods, and resisting the urge to skip the hard work. In your relationships, it's having the honest conversation, setting boundaries, and confronting difficult emotions instead of avoiding them. In your career, it's tackling the projects that stretch your skills, speaking up when it's uncomfortable, and taking calculated risks to advance your goals. In your mind, it's challenging limiting beliefs, learning new skills, and thinking beyond the familiar. Discomfort is the gateway to growth, and it exists in every dimension of life. Most importantly, embracing discomfort transforms your identity. Every time you face what you fear, resist what you want to avoid, and act despite discomfort, you prove to yourself who you are. You are not someone who shrinks. You are someone who waits for life to feel safe. You are someone who steps forward, who leads, who grows, and who becomes unstoppable. Your actions shape your identity, and your identity shapes your results. Embracing discomfort daily is how you become the person capable of achieving extraordinary results. I want you to think about the last time you avoided something uncomfortable. How much energy, time, and potential did you give away because you chose safety over growth? Now imagine if instead you leaned in. Imagine if you consistently chose to embrace discomfort, push through fear, and do what most people won't. Imagine the momentum, the confidence, and the progress you would create. That is the path to becoming a better version of yourself every day. Not someday, not when it's convenient, but today, right now, with every choice you make. The key is to remember that discomfort is not permanent, but the lessons, growth, and resilience you gain from it are. Every step you take outside your comfort zone is an investment in your future. Every challenge you face head on builds a muscle that will serve you for the rest of your life. Every time you choose growth over ease, you are rewriting your destiny, proving to yourself that you are capable and stepping closer to the person you were meant to become. So I want you to commit right now. I will lean into discomfort. I will act even when it is hard. I will face my fears, confront my challenges, and embrace the growth that comes with it. I will no longer allow comfort to dictate my life because I understand that my future, my potential, and my greatness are found on the edge of what feels safe. Step forward, lean in, grow. If you want to become a better version of yourself every day, you need to understand the power of small wins. Most people think transformation comes from huge leaps, from dramatic changes, from some event that suddenly turns everything around. But that's not how real change works. Real change is built one small step at a time. Every day, every decision, every action, no matter how tiny, compounds. It's the accumulation of these small wins that transforms ordinary people into extraordinary ones. The question is, are you willing to stack those small wins consistently, day after day, until they redefine who you are? Think about it this way. The most successful, fulfilled, and powerful people you know did not get there overnight. They didn't wake up one day and suddenly have it all figured out. They became who they are through repetition, through consistent daily action, through choosing to do the things that others neglected. Every book they read, every workout they completed, every conversation they had, every small decision to act instead of wait, added up over time. That's the secret. Small wins are not small at all. They are the building blocks of a new identity, a new life, and a new level of performance. The key is to focus not on the overwhelming big picture, but on the small actions that are within your control today. Don't get paralyzed by the enormity of the change you want to see. Instead, ask yourself, what can I do right now that aligns with who I want to become? It could be sending that email you've been avoiding, waking up 30 minutes earlier, writing down your goals, exercising, reading, or taking one step to confront a fear. That single step repeated day after day becomes unstoppable momentum. Every small win reinforces your identity. Your actions shape your beliefs, and your beliefs shape your actions. The more you consistently act in alignment with who you want to be, the more natural it becomes. You start to see yourself differently. You start to feel differently. You start to act differently. And suddenly, the person you were struggling to become is no longer a distant goal. It is your reality. Small wins are identity-shaping victories. They teach your brain this is who I am. This is what I do. This is how I operate. The beauty of small wins is that they are empowering. Each one gives you proof that you are capable. Each one builds confidence. Each one reinforces the fact that progress is possible, that change is real, and that you are in control of your life. Most people underestimate this power because they are looking for dramatic results too quickly. They want transformation in a day, in a week, in a month. But the truth is, real transformation is invisible at first. It's quiet, subtle, almost imperceptible, but consistent. And over time, those small invisible shifts explode into massive results. Stacking small wins also helps you navigate failure. When you face setbacks, when things don't go according to plan, you don't fall apart. Why? Because your foundation is built on consistency and momentum. You know that one failure does not define you. You know that as long as you continue to take small, deliberate actions, you are moving forward. Small wins give you resilience because they remind you of your capability. They remind you that progress is possible, even when life is challenging, even when obstacles arise. Another powerful aspect of small wins is that they create clarity. When you take one small step and follow through, you gain insight into what works, what doesn't, and what is next. Each action generates feedback, which helps you adjust, refine, and improve. This creates a cycle of growth that is unstoppable. You are no longer guessing, hoping, or relying on luck. You are learning, adapting, and moving forward with precision. Small wins turn uncertainty into strategy, chaos into control, and intention into results. It's also important to understand the compounding effect. One small win today doesn't just affect today, it affects tomorrow, the next day, and the days after that. Every choice, every action, every step builds on the last. That is the power of momentum. When you start stacking small wins, you are creating an unstoppable force that carries you toward your goals, toward your potential, and toward the life you desire. The key is consistency. One win without follow-through doesn't matter. Repetition is what transforms small victories into massive breakthroughs. Small wins are also liberating because they keep you focused on what is within your control. You can't control everything that happens in life, but you can control your actions. You can control your decisions. You can control whether you show up, whether you follow through, and whether you take the next step. Focusing on what you can control keeps you empowered, keeps you moving forward, and keeps you aligned with your potential. It removes the frustration, the self-doubt, and the waiting for the perfect moment. The perfect moment is now, and it is built through action. It's critical to celebrate small wins. Don't underestimate them. When you recognize your progress, even in small increments, you reinforce your behavior and strengthen your identity. Celebration is not about arrogance. It's about acknowledgement. It's about telling yourself, I am capable. I am growing. I am on the path. Recognition fuels momentum, creates energy, and reinforces the belief that you are becoming the person you are meant to be. Every acknowledgement, no matter how small, compounds into confidence, power, and achievement. Most people fail because they get discouraged when the change they want seems too big, too far away, or too impossible. They ignore the small wins and wait for something monumental to happen. But monumental results are never sudden. They are the sum of countless small, deliberate actions. Every step matters. Every decision counts. Every win, no matter how tiny, builds the foundation for extraordinary achievement. Stack the small wins, and the impossible becomes inevitable. The principle of small wins also aligns perfectly with every other element we've discussed. Raising your standards becomes manageable when you focus on one step at a time. Winning your morning is a small but powerful daily win that compounds. Rewriting your story becomes real when you take small, consistent actions that reinforce the new narrative. Taking personal responsibility becomes a habit when each day you act in alignment with ownership. Embracing discomfort becomes natural when you choose small challenges repeatedly, proving to yourself that you can handle more than you imagined. And all of these come together through the compounding effect of small wins. So I want you to take a moment and reflect. What small win can you create today? What one action, no matter how tiny, will move you closer to the person you want to become? It doesn't have to be dramatic. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to happen. Take it, stack it, repeat it, and then take the next one. Every day, every decision, every action. That is how lives are transformed. That is how ordinary moments turn into extraordinary results. That is how the best version of yourself is built. Remember, transformatio. And is not about luck, talent, or circumstance. It is about daily commitment, consistent action, and the courage to take one step after another, no matter how small. Your life is the sum of these steps, and the person you become is the product of these choices. Stack the small wins, nurture the momentum, and commit to showing up every single day, and there is nothing you cannot achieve. Take the small win today and keep building.